This is a video for Byron Hithe. In my generation, the fathers, they weren't so great. My father he just straight up just abandoned me. It's gone. But and that was common. It wasn't just me. It was pretty common. And there was also just divorce, and then in that era there's a lot of that, and then a lot of the dads of that era, they were just really self-involved, and they just emotionally weren't there for their children, and I felt that, you know you're missing something critical, you're missing something, but you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what it is, or what it should be. What is a father? I've seen TV, but I've never really experienced one, really, Then I met Byron, and I started to kind of see. And eventually, you kind of have the epiphany, and you're like, wow, that's what a father is. That's a good one. That is a good one. Wow, and so you don't know what you don't know. So then you start, better take notes. How does this work? Because I don't. How does it? You're like, okay, well, he's building shelters. You're like, he builds shelters he makes everyone feel safe and protected. And then the other thing that he does is he makes it seem completely effortless. Just like, oh, yeah, the house, that wasn't big enough, so I just pushed it out. I just pushed it out and built a bunch of, bedrooms and a couple of bathrooms or whatever. I just pushed the house out. Oh, okay. Effortless. And, that was a big deal. It was a big deal to me to really experience and see what it was like what a real father was like, And, there's a little piece that's missing in you, when that kind of trauma happens to you as a child. And then a little bit of that energy kind of starts going into that little missing piece, a little Byron energy. And you're like, yeah. And he starts kind of filling that tank up a little bit for you. And you're like, huh. Okay, I will, I'm inspired by this, and I kind of feel, I feel it, and I know it was that way for other people, not just me. I know Ken just called him dad. It doesn't get any more easier to understand than that. But I think that, Adrian had a similar experience, and from what I hear, other people in the neighborhood, because you could just, if you have that part missing, he's like a shining beacon, and you're just like, oh, there it is, that's the thing. And so, and because of who he was, he could just share it. He could just effortlessly kind of share that part of himself with you. He had enough to get, he has a full family with 3 kids, you know what I mean? And a wife, and he's got a career and a thing, and he's doing, but he's got time for you. He's got the energy for you, and you're like, how does he do that? But it was inspiring. But it was also like a little scary at certain times, because I remember when Sheila would talk about him, I remember a certain time when she was going on about her dad, how great her dad is. Oh yeah, and I'm like, yeah. And then at a certain point I was like, man, I am never going to be able to live up to him. I am in trouble. Those are big shoes to fill, and they don't make them like that anymore. they don't make them like Byron anymore. The old models are better than the new models. Right? In this case, that's for sure. So I was always like, wow, that's a lot to live up to, but I'm just going to do the best job I can do, man. I'm going to try so hard, because now I see how it's supposed to be. And I mean, can I? I don't know, man. I'm just going to try and do the best that I can. But, one Christmas, we were unwrapping presents like you normally do, and nobody was watching anybody else or whatever. We're all just kind of doing our thing, opening our little gifts and all that, And I see him opening his thing. I don't even know what it was or whatever, but he's opening up something, and he opens it up, and it's like it's a tool, It's a tool. I think it was like a table saw or something, and he looked at it, and he kind of was paralyzed for a moment there, and I was like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? And he started weeping. He started crying, and he was overcome with emotion. And I had never seen that before. I'd never seen that part of him. And it was such a human moment. It was so human. And that's when I had that epiphany, like, he's not Superman. He seems like he's Superman. Like, how does he do it? But he's not. He's just a guy. He's just a guy who worked really hard and just made good choices and lived by a creed. I mean, he was a true Christian in the way that it should be, not the way that these weird Christians in the United States, but he actually, like the words of Christ, of just that unconditional love and that forgiveness, like that was just his thing. And so when he cried, I saw, like, he's just a guy who just works really hard and just makes really good choices and just lives by that, man. And when he cried, I could just tell, like, that his family saw him, because he didn't open a gift and it was like, oh, yeah, well, thanks for the tie, And spoiler alert, no dad wants a tie, really, because you don't want a tie, because you don't want somebody to go, oh, hi, you're the this like this kind of archetype of a person. You're a provider, you're a father, you're the guy who keeps it all going so we can be humans, but you are this role, and here you go, role person who's a role, who's not a person, you're an archetype. Here's a tie. This is tie for you. This is a symbolic gesture to this you two-dimensional person. No, it was a tool, and that tool was his passion in life, building things, but not just for himself, like for other people. And the way he came over when I first got this house, and I've lived in an apartment my whole life, and I didn't know anything about tools or anything. And the guy comes over in his 60s, and he's builds a stoop with bricks in the heat in the middle of the summer, and he wasn't young when he was doing that. And then he spent time with me, with showing me how to hang a door, and he just never made fun of me. There was no jokes or anything about how I didn't know. And he knew I didn't know. He knew I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to hold a screwdriver at that point. And he was so patient. God, he was so patient with me. I just know he had that effect on other people. But he wasn't Superman. He was just he was just an incredible human being. And you know, he's gone, but there is a part of him that is absolutely still in my heart. And I will, you know, I'll always, there was a part of his energy that kind of healed a lot of those wounds in there, and that missing part, you know, and it doesn't take much. That's the thing. It just to have somebody just spend a little time and be a father and see me as a person and just go, it's okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We're going to put these hinges on, and then we're going to hang this door up. I'll show you how it works. It's okay. Oh, okay, yeah. But that's still here. That's still inside me. And I know it's inside Ken, and obviously all the children and Rochelle, and obviously the whole family. But I think he was unusual where he was able to do that for so many people. So he's gone now, and I'm gonna miss him. You know, but you know, he changed me, and he'll definitely, he'll always be with me.